أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك المظلومين الغر الميامين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة غريب، يا مظلوم كربلاء. سيدي يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. For the hastening of the reappearance of the Avenger and the Master and the Savior, Al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan al-Askari, recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This world is one that is so transient, so short-lived, so amalgamated with pain and misery. There's never any pure joy. There's never a single day, in fact, where there is nothing but happiness. It's so mixed up. Its joy is mixed with pain. Its happiness is mixed with misery, such that it's just not worth it. And I'm not saying that it's not worth living in this world. Of course it is. Because by living in this world in the righteous way, you're able to achieve an eternity in paradise. So it's an investment, if done right, if performed under the right circumstances, if you buy the right stock, it's definitely worth it. But it's not worth even a single sin, a single act of transgression. It's not worth it. Like I said, the shortness of this life means that you don't want to take too much. You don't even want to take what the traditions refer to as fudul dunya. Fudul is extra things that are unnecessary. I'm not talking about haram and halal. I don't want any of the youth to turn around and say Islam wants us to be miserable. Nobody's saying that. But even the extra things, the unnecessary objects and possessions and joys of this life are not worth it, because I explained earlier. Because even the happiness of this world is mixed with misery. And so whatever you think you're acquiring to be happy, you're bound to become more miserable as well. You're happy one day, miserable the next. There's a beautiful narration, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but a beautiful description of this life that only someone like Amir al-Mu'mineen is capable of providing. Sayyid al-Balagha, Asadullah al-Ghalib, Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salawatullah wa salawatul malaikati ajma'een, is the only one who understood this life and saw all of its ups and downs, all that it could potentially offer, that only Ali can understand what this life is all about. He says, listen, he says, مَا أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ عَبْدٍ بِنِعْمَةٍ. Every time, and again, the Imam isn't prescribing how you should live. This isn't a prescription, it's a description, right? The Imam isn't saying that this is how you're supposed to lead your life. He's saying that no matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter what religion you subscribe to, no matter what country you happen to be a citizen of, no matter your gender, your creed, your ethnicity, your nationality, the color of your skin, it doesn't matter. This is a universal law and it applies universally. He says, whenever God gives someone a gift, ما أنعم الله على عبد بنعمة إلا بفراق أخرى, except that the balance has to be maintained. You get a gift, a bounty, a blessing, you gotta lose another one. That's how it works. And that's one of the most miserable things about this world, in that you can never create a net profit or a net loss. There's never a net profit or a net loss. There's always a perfect equilibrium of happiness and misery. Always. You might see someone who looks happier than you are, but the reality is they're not. Because by having the bigger house, the faster car, the more beautiful spouse, the more children, or whatever it is that you use to measure happiness with, whatever gauge that people refer to in order to decide whether someone is happy, then that bounty that they have makes it incumbent upon them to have lost something that you don't see. And there are many, many examples which I don't want to get into and I've talked about in my previous lectures in previous years, right? But I'll just give you one simple example. People who don't have a car feel that they're miserable because they don't have a car, right? You think to yourself, all I'm waiting for is for the right age. I don't know, what's the driving age here? 16? As soon as I turn 16, I'll go get my license. Why? Because you think that by not having a license and not having a car, you're more miserable than your cousin, your brother, your sister, your friend who has a car. That's how everybody feels. And then you go get a car. Will you be happy then? You might think you will. But here's the situation. Here's the bitter, sad reality of this life. When you don't have a car, your problem is getting from A to B. And so what do? You get public transport, you get on a train, you ask a friend to drop you off, right? Your problem is one. How do I get from A to B? When you get the car, right? Now you have 10 new problems. You might have solved the first problem, but think about it. You now have to come up with the money to buy the car. If it's a loan, it means you're bound to, you're indebted to the bank, and you need to pay that money back, and you need to work extra hard to do that. When you buy the actual car, right, then you have to worry about insurance. You have to worry about ensuring that the car is always, the engine's always looked after and whatnot, that it doesn't ever break down, that you drive it, which means that instead of just being in the back seat enjoying chatting to your friends, now you have to focus squarely on the road and ensure that there aren't any idiots who are going to cross you and try to hit you, and you're always focused on that. Then when you get to your destination, you have to worry about where you park your car. Am I right? You have to pay your taxes, you have to do this, you have to do that. You had one problem. Look what you did. Look what you did. You substituted the one problem for 20 more problems. مَا أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ عَبْدٍ بِشَيْءٍ إلا بفراق أخرى. And so don't ever think that if I were to get such and such, then I'll be happy. No, you won't. No, you won't. You'll never actually be happy. Happiness is a mirage. Happiness, true, unadulterated, unobstructed happiness in this world is a mirage. It's a pipe dream. It's just not gonna happen. So stop chasing after it. Stop trying to make yourself happy at the expense of God's laws. If only I took off my hijab, then I'll be happy. If only I started eating this or drinking that, then I'll be happy. If only this, if only that. It's pathetic. It's a rat race. Tonight I'm speaking like this because I just feel like the subject matter is such that we can speak openly, right? I don't need to sugarcoat it. I don't need to, use any kind of discretion. It is what it is. It's a miserable old place. Let's recognize it as a miserable old place. And when you recognize it as a miserable old place, what happens then is that being detached from it becomes a lot easier. Not being indebted to it, not being stuck in that rat race becomes a lot easier. You don't invest too much in it. You invest in what? In what comes after it. You don't spend too much of your time or effort on digging your roots because it's a miserable old place. Nobody's ever been happy in this place. And if anyone was ever happy in this place, they're long dead now. إِنَّكَ مَيِّتٌ وَإِنَّهُمْ مَيِّتُونَ. God says to His most beloved creation, the holy messenger of God, God says to him, you will surely die. And so will they. So even if we were, at the off chance, we're able to somehow gain a momentary, transient, temporary place of happiness in this life, we're going to leave it behind and go into a lonely, dark, miserable hole 6 feet under the floor. So why invest? Why invest in this? I don't know if you've heard this example before, but it's quite a common one. The way most people lead their lives in this world is like this. Imagine you're driving, say, from, Springfield to Miami, Florida. And you take a bunch of your friends with you. You make a bit of a road trip out of it. And of course, the origin is what? The origin is home. It's your town. The destination, let's say, is your brother's house in Miami. And so you set out from the first instant. You set out saying to yourself, this is my home, that's my destination, I know the route, I have my navigation apps, I know how to get there. And then halfway along the route, you stop at a service station to get some drinks or coffee or whatever. And you sit there sipping on your coffee. All of a sudden you notice that your friend goes into the parking lot of the service station and he's using a sledgehammer to dig the concrete floor. And you say, what on earth are you doing? And he says to you, well, I'm building a house. Why would you build a house out here? What are you trying to do? Oh, but we're going to be here a while, right? Yes, but a while means 10 minutes. Maybe we misunderstood each other. We're supposed to be here to pick up the drinks and then keep going until we get to our destination. What are you thinking trying to build a house? And that's exactly where we are, right? Amirul Mu'mineen has a beautiful hadith in which he says, Ad-dunya subat. This world is but a nap. It's not even a deep REM sleep. It's just a nap. How long does a nap last? Half an hour? An hour? He says this world is but a nap. And the afterlife, وَالْآخِرَةُ الْيَقْظَةُ. The afterlife is the true awakening. That's when we really wake up, right? الناس النيام إذا ماتوا انتبهوا, the hadith says. People are sleeping. They're sleepwalking. Only when they die do they awaken, do they realize where they were and why they were obsessed with this service station that they were at. Because the real life, the long life, is what happens after we die, right? وَالْآخِرَةُ هِيَ الْحَيَوَانِ. When we die, that's when you really live. Here, you're just at a service station. You're here to pick up a few drinks and some food and just keep going. And so Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Al-Dunya Subat. Try and memorize these hadiths if you can. If you can't take notes now, maybe watch the program after and memorize these beautiful gems of wisdom that Amir al-Mu'mineen, as I said before, these are the results and the product of the life of someone like Ali who's seen it all. الدنيا سبات والآخرة اليقظة ونحن بينهما أضغاث أحلام. And everything that we do, everything that we see in this life is what? It's a bunch of dreams. It's just dream. You're just dreaming. You ever seen someone see a really bad dream, a nightmare? Right? What do? You try to wake them up and say, calm down, calm down. This is just a dream. Don't worry about it. It's just a dream. This life, all the fights we have, all the discord, all the disagreements, all the power grabs, all the issues within a family, within a community, all of this is nothing but a bad dream or a good dream. But in the end, whether it was a good dream or a bad dream, it's what? It's just a dream. So, I go back to my earlier point. It's not worth it. Again, I'm not saying it's not worth living it. It's just not worth sinning in it. Amir al-Mu'mineen says another beautiful hadith. He says, "A'lamu, beware. Listen to what I have to tell you. I know what I'm talking about. Learn from me. اعلموا أنه ليس لأبدانكم هذه ثمن إلا الجنة فلا تبيعوها إلا بها." You should know that there is no other price for your bodies, for your lives. There is no other price worth it except paradise. So make sure that you do not sell it for a price any lower than that. Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's the one who, when he was on his deathbed, he looked into a corner of the room and he said, "Assalamu alaykum ya malaikata rabbi limithli hadha falya'mal al-'amilun." For this is what I've been waiting for. All my life, Amir al-Mu'mineen was struck on the head with a sword twice. Once in Khaybar, and then later in Masjid al-Kufa. Ali ibn Abi Talib, who lived a life of extreme austerity and poverty, even though he had access to the riches of this world, Ali ibn Abi Talib explains to us that it was all worth it. That austerity, that piety, that generosity, that kindness of Amir al-Mu'mineen was all worth it. Why? Because he says, for this, the doers should do. Those who act should act. Those who do deeds should do their deeds, because now it's worth it. This is worth it. Paradise is worth it. Imam al-Hussein, when he arrived in Karbala, he wrote a letter to his brother Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. Incredible letter, one of the shortest and yet most insightful letters in all of human history. It sums up the true nature of this world in a nutshell. The Imam says, "Ala كأن الدنيا لم تكن والآخرة لم تزال والسلام." In other words, Imam al-Hussein is telling his brother Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah that, you know what? We live this life But it's as though this life was never here. It's as though we never went through anything. We never saw anything. Just like a dream. When you wake up, having seen a dream, it's all gone. It all evaporates, right? Nothing, none of it remains. كأن الدنيا لم تكن والآخرة لم تزل. And it's as if the afterlife has always been there. The afterlife is what encompasses this world. The afterlife is the real life, as I said earlier. There's another beautiful narration in which Imam al-Hussein, again, Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, how he was able to fully digest the true nature of this world. He says, Ad-Dunya, to our point earlier about the dream, he says, Ad-Dunya, Hulwuha wa murruha hulum. Both the sweetness of this world, as well as the bitterness of this world, is just a dream. Calm down, wake up, welcome back to reality. Smell the coffee, the afterlife. That's worth working for. Everything else is just a waste of time. But then, we talked about this last night, brothers and sisters. Look at our lives. How we're consumed by materialism. We're consumed by things that are so easily lost. Let me share a beautiful hadith with you. One day, Amir al-Mu'mineen is sitting down when Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, the great companion of Rasulullah, as well as the companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the companion of Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein, as well as Imam Zayn al-Abidin, who even got to see Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. The Holy Prophet had told him, when you see my great grandson Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir, send him my salam. Jabir enters. The Imam sees Jabir looking miserable and upset. The Imam said to him, Ya Jabir, mimma hammuk? Why are you upset? Min amri dunya. Is it because of problems in this life? You have a debt you can't pay, you have an issue with your wife, you have a problem with your neighbor. What is it? He said to the Imam, yes, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, it is related to this world. I'm upset, I'm miserable. The Imam said to him, Ya Jabir, let me share something with you, a wisdom if you like. That's going to relieve you of all your pain. He said, what are the basic pleasures of this world? When you boil it down, what are the things that people are obsessed with? Think about this for a moment. The Imam said, there's about 6 or 7 of them, if we were to put them in broad categories. The first pleasure that people seek is food. Right? Look at the food industry. Look at all the people who make millions and millions off of taking pictures of their foods. Food is a huge thing. It's a huge part of our lives. The Imam says to him, food is a big obsession, right? What's the most nutritious, sweetest, most delicious food in the world? It's honey. Then the Imam said to him, do you know what honey actually is? That's the true nature of this world. Honey, the sweetest, most nutritious food, is a bee's barf. Literally, a bee vomits and you get honey. That's the true nature of honey. What is the most delicious, most nutritious drink? The Imam said, it's water. وَكَفَى بِإِبَاحَتِهِ وَسِبَاحَتِهِ. The Imam said, there's plenty of water out there. Why are you so upset? What is the most desirable garment and fabric? It's silk. The Imam says to him, but do you know what silk is? It is the saliva of a worm. That's really all it is. People go crazy over it, but it's worm saliva. What else? The Imam says to him, what's the most desirable physical pleasure? Sexual intercourse? Then the Imam said to him, well, do you know how that is satisfied? I won't even translate this. Mabalun fi mabal wa mithalun li mithal. Then the Imam said to him, what about the most desirable ride? Back then it was horses, now it's cars, but the same rule applies. He says, do you know how deadly those are? I was looking up statistics. Worldwide, every year, 1.25 million people die from car accidents. The faster the car, the more deadly it is. The slower stupider, clunkier the car, the safer it is. The fastest cars, go see those princes and spoiled, rotten kids in places like Dubai and Saudi Arabia, and look up the statistics of how many people die young at the age of 20 and 22 and 25 and 16 in their Lamborghinis and their Bugattis and their Ferraris. Horses are great, but they're deadly. Cars are great, but they're deadly. The Imam essentially pointed Jabir ibn Abdullah into the right direction, telling him that this world has two sides. One is bright, beautiful. It's the stuff you watch on TV, right? It's what you get from Hollywood. Glamour, glitter, all over, right? But the true nature of this world isn't found in Hollywood. The true nature of this world is found in the pediatric oncology department in your local hospital. I was saying to someone that if you ever feel miserable because you don't have the best, most expensive, latest gadget or phone or car or house or whatever, if you ever feel miserable about that, just picture this scenario. You go to your doctor for a routine checkup. You tell your doctor that, oh, by the way, I've got this pain in my, for example, I don't know, abdomen, right? And you're hoping the doctor is just going to dismiss it. The doctor's just going to go, you know what, it's nothing to worry about. You're a young, healthy man, woman, whatever. But the doctor says, well, you know what? Given your family history, given your background, given your health records, I think that it may be worth investigating this pain that you're talking about. Hopefully it's nothing, but you know what? Let's get a test. Let's get a blood work. Let's get maybe a biopsy, right? So the doctor takes the blood test and says, I'll call you when the tests are in. And then 2 weeks down the line, you get a phone call from the doctor and says, you know what? I gotta see you and it's urgent. You go to the doctor says, you're stage 4 cancer. God forbid, I hope that never happens to any of you, but picture yourself in that scenario. Will it matter what phone you have at that moment? Will it matter how big the square footage in your house is? Will it matter the slightest bit what color car you drive? Will it matter what kind of clothes you wear? Will any of these materialistic objects matter the slightest bit when you're facing down the abyss of death? That's the true nature of this life. I swear to God, it's not worth it. A good friend of mine who's around the same age as me was giving a lecture, a majlis, a eulogy for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein today in a remote place in Iraq called Tus Khurmatu, a place where there's a small pocket of Shia surrounded by ISIS. He was there giving lectures. He gave the majlis, came down, had a heart attack and died right there. And I thought to myself, it's not worth it. Two things are not worth it. Number one, the sins that we commit. I don't care how small, I don't care how badly we want to do it. I don't care how much pressure you feel from people around you, from your friends, from people in school, people at work. It's not worth it. Because death clenches its proverbial claws to extract our souls so abruptly, brothers and sisters. The lucky ones are the ones who are told by their doctor that you have cancer. Those are the lucky ones. The others are the ones who go without a warning. Those are the ones who die in a car accident. They're the ones who die because of heart arrhythmia, those who have a heart attack. The ones who don't get a chance to say goodbye to their families. The ones who die alone in isolation in a hospital ward or someplace else. It's not worth it, brothers and sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the compassionate, the merciful, what does He expect from us? Really, all He's asked is what? You can have this paradise, just avoid the forbidden fruit. That's what He told to Adam, that's what He tells us. Of all the delicious things out there, He has said avoid just a bunch of things. Of all the halal activities that we could be engaged in, He says don't do this and that. Allahu Akbar. I was looking at a hadith. The Holy Prophet, Rasulullah, Rasulul Rahmati, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. He says, God says in a sacred tradition, Hadith Qudsi, this is attributed to God Himself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every morning looks at His servants who are growing older. We're all growing older, aren't we? And God says to that man or woman, He says to them, you're getting older. You're losing the tenderness of your skin. You're losing your youth. You're losing all the things that you had. These should be signs that you're about to leave, you're about to say goodbye, you're about to go, right? And yet you still commit sins. You still don't know the basics of your faith and your religion. You're still violating the laws of God. Then God will say, and listen to this. I just broke down in tears when I read this part of the hadith. Then God says, فَاسْتَحِ مِنِّي كَمَا أَسْتَحِي مِنْ عَذَابِكَ. Have some shame just as I'm ashamed of punishing you. God says, I'm ashamed. I'm too shy to hurt you. I'm too shy to even punish you for the crimes and the sins that you commit. Have some shame from me. أستحي منك ولا تستحي مني. خيري إليك نازل وشرك إلي صاعد. أستقبلك بالنعم وتستقبلني بالذنوب. Every day I send down my bounties and blessings upon you, and what are you sending back up to me? Sins, transgressions, violations, audacity to stand in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I endear myself to you. Alhamdulillah alladhi yatahabbabu ilayya wa huwa ghaniyun anni. Imam Zayn al-Abidin teaches us in Dua Abu Hamza al-Thumali, praise be to Allah who constantly makes overtures, constantly tries to endear Himself to us. You know how when you love somebody, you keep giving them gifts, sending them messages, trying to find new ways and tricks to show your love. That's how Allah acts with us. يَتَحَبَّبُ إِلَيَّ وَهُوَ غَنِيٌّ عَنِّي. Even though He has no need for me. My existence in this world, in this life, is less than a needle being thrown in an ocean. How much impact does a needle have on an ocean of water? Whether I live or die, does it even matter? Does it make a difference to the world, to the universe, to God Himself? وَلَمْ يَزَلْ وَلَا يَزَالْ مَلَكٌ كَرِيمٌ. And every day there's an angel who keeps taking messages back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh, he did this, he did that, he said this, he said that. Brothers and sisters, tonight, in order for us to really connect with Imam al-Hussein, let's repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's repent to Him and say, I'm sorry. Let's all say this together. Raise your hands. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. I'm sorry. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. أمير المؤمنين says, يا من بدنياه اشتغل قد غره طول الأمل والموت يأتي بغتة والقبر صندوق العمل. We're all occupied, busy with trying to get more and more and more in this life. But what you don't understand is that when death comes, it descends on your life. There's never a good time for death. There's never a time when somebody says, you know what, this is good. This is the right time. It always comes down abruptly. It's always too soon to go. قد غره طول الأمل We're always thinking, oh, I got time, I got time. I still have plenty of years. I'm not going to die. The average lifespan in this country is 72. So even if I'm 65, even if I'm 70, I still have time. قَدْ غَرَّهُ طُولُ الْأَمَلِ وَالْقَبْرُ صُنْدُوقُ الْعَمَلِ. You know how much time and effort we put in decorating our homes? Right? Home improvement, again, another massive industry. How much money, how much work to buy the house, to fix the house, to pay off the house, to do what? To look after the bedroom, to look after the living room. Well, what about the dying room? What about the grave? What about the place that we will spend millions of years in? Who's going to fix that up for me? Who's going to decorate that one for me? The hadith says every day the grave screams on a wavelength that you and I can't listen to, we can't hear. But that's why we have the Prophet, that's why we have the Imams, to speak about the afterlife, to speak about the world of the unseen. Every day the grave screams, أَنَا بَيْتُ الْوَحْشَةِ أَنَا بَيْتُ الظُّلْمَةِ أَنَا بَيْتُ الدُّودِ. I am the house of misery. I am the house of darkness. I am the house filled with worms. If you see a bed bug in your bed, you flip out. And yet we're going to spend an eternity in a grave that's filled with worms and maggots that feast on our tender, beautiful bodies that we spend so much time and effort in making look good. And putting makeup on it, wearing the best, most beautiful clothes, just so somebody else says, oh, you look so nice. Maybe we get a like, maybe we get a comment, maybe somebody, that endorphin, that dopamine shot that we need, that we talked about last night, just so we could feel a little good about ourselves. Anyway, brothers and sisters, it's not worth it. Sinning, transgressing the laws of Allah. Number two thing that's not worth it is all the quarrels that we have, all the fights that we have, all the fights that are over the dunya. If it's over values and principles, that's a different story. But if it's a fight over, oh, what she said or what he did, or these petty little fights, these things that bear absolutely no weight on the grand scheme of things, on how we end up being in the afterlife, they're not worth it. Let's forgive and forget. In the honor of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, let's forgive our brothers and sisters in faith. If you love Imam al-Hussein, and I'm going to say this for the first time from the minbar, if somebody's ever hurt me, if somebody's ever insulted me, if somebody's ever slandered me behind my back, if somebody's ever done anything that would ordinarily hurt someone and has probably hurt me, by the glory and the honor of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, I forgive you all. And I beg that you do the same thing for me. And I beg that we do this for each other. Silmun liman salamakum, harbun liman harabakum. I am at peace with you if you're a lover of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've done to hurt me personally. And if you are at war with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, I don't care if you're my father or my mother or my son or anybody. I am at war with you. Silmun liman salamakum. Let's forgive everyone. I've heard a lot of people tell me, but Sayyid, forgiveness is hard. We can't forget. We can't. You can if Imam al-Hussein is the catalyst and the inspiration. You can if you consider the fact that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein was faced by the man who caused his massacre in Karbala, a man by the name of Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. When he came to Imam al-Hussein, the Imam didn't even complain as to why you did what you did. He said to the Imam, هَلْ لِي مِن تَوْبَةٍ? And the Imam replied, In tubta taballahu alayk. If you're truly repentant, if you're asking God for forgiveness, I've forgiven you. But I'm just telling you as a matter of fact that you are truly repentant, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also forgiven you. If Imam al-Hussein forgives Hurr, I can't forgive my cousin, my brother, my sibling, my uncle, my aunt. Why? Because they took a loan, they didn't pay it back. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. These are all among the things that we will regret as we lay in our deathbeds. It's like, what? What is this? These cheap, petty fights amongst ourselves, amongst the community of believers and the lovers of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Now, we talked about how it was the love of this world that brought the same people who were in Kufa with their hands stretched out and a bowl of milk, trying to offer that milk to Amir al-Mu'mineen when he was dying. Those same people or their children were now here in Karbala to slaughter Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. How did that happen? Part of the reason, and we'll talk about more reasons later on inshallah in the subsequent nights, but part of the reason was their love for the dunya. The fact that they wanted more and more. This beast had to be satisfied. This insatiable thirst had to be quenched, whether it was money or authority or anything else. Again, all of these petty things. And so what we need to do, brothers and sisters, this is the solution, is you need to recognize that whatever you have in this world is a trust given to you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to carry out specific tasks. While also, listen carefully, while also you take what you need from this world. وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not forget your share from this world. Your share is what? Your share is the food that you need to survive. It's the shelter that you need to protect yourself from cold and heat. Your share is the basic necessities. Anything on top of that, you have an obligation to expend it in certain areas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us obligations, financial obligations. Things like khums, things like zakat, things like charity to the poor, alms, so on and so forth. And when you realize that what you have, whatever you have in your possession, isn't actually yours, but is a loan given to you in order to do those things, it becomes so easy to give it away for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doesn't it? It's like a bank teller. Does a bank teller ever feel bad because they're handing a customer $1,000? Not the slightest bit. The bank teller never feels like, oh no, this is my money, I can't give it to you. Because they know it's not theirs. They know it's not theirs. And that's why Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says to Unwan al-Basri, and I'll pick this up inshallah tomorrow night. Imam al-Sadiq in this great story of Unwan al-Basri says to him, he says that when you realize that whatever you have is a loan from Allah, هَانَ عَلَيْهِ الْإِنفَاقِ, it becomes so easy to give in the way of Allah because it's not even mine. It just happens to be in my possession so that I could use whatever I need. It's like an expense account. Have you ever worked for a company where they give you a company car? A company car is used for what? Not so that you could go skidding on the streets or burning tires. A company car is given to you so that you could further the cause of the company, so that you could go on official business using the car, right? That's what our bodies are for. That's what our money is for. That's what everything that we have is for. So that you would use it for the satisfaction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And part of the satisfaction of Allah is that you live your life as well in a halal way. That's it. A company credit card is used to buy your basic necessities, travel expenses, food, this, that, and the other, but not to splash out, not to go buy expensive things, because you know that the purpose of this is so that you could carry out your business. Allah has given us everything that we have, money, youth, wealth, everything, so that we could live our lives and then use any excess in order to carry out our religious duties. And so when that mentality sets in, it becomes so much easier to give in the way of Allah. When the mosques ask you for a donation, it becomes easy to give. When someone asks you for a loan, it becomes easy to give them. As opposed to have the money sit in a bank account or in a vault, it's easy to give in the way of Allah and say, take this, you need a loan, take it. The hadith says that giving a loan is more rewarding than giving a gift. when you see a brother, a sister, especially people back home, especially people who are suffering, to give them a loan is a great act of charity. Instead of having the money sit in the bank account and do absolutely nothing, if you realize that your purpose here is to live your life and to carry out the duties set by Allah, it becomes easy. Now, this is why you have someone like Muslim ibn Aqil, salamullahi alayh. Muslim is this unique case, brothers and sisters. There's so many things about this man that are inspiring more than the greatest fictitious superheroes the human imagination has been able to devise. So many things. One of them is, did you know that Muslim ibn Aqil's lineage was severed in Karbala? He has no descendants, he has no lineage, even though he had at least 3 children, if not more. 2 of them were the 2 boys, I mentioned their story last night, who sought refuge with that man, and he ended up murdering them and killing them. Muhammad and Abdullah, or Ibrahim and Abdullah. And one of them was Hamida bint Muslim, the daughter of Muslim, and I'll tell you her story later, but his lineage was severed all for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Muslim was such a great person that traditions tell us, and this hadith is in Bihar al-Anwar, that one day, way before Muslim was born, the Holy Prophet says to Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says to him, Ya Ali, inni uhibbu akhaka aqilan. I love your brother Aqil. Why, O Messenger of God? He said, I love him for 3 reasons. Number 1, because he's your brother. Number 2, because he is the son of Abu Talib, my beloved uncle. And number 3, because he will have a son, يَكُونُ لَهُ وَلَدٌ يُقْتَلُ فِي حُبِّ وَلَدِكِ, who will die for the love of your son. In reference to who? To Muslim ibn Aqil. Rasulullah says, I love Aqil because of Muslim. That's another point. The third is that Muslim died all alone. He was in Kufa. He saw the betrayal. He saw the treasonous Kufans turn against him overnight. And then he was killed whilst he was distanced from his family, away from his loved ones, away from his children, away from his beloved Hamida. He was killed in Kufa. And he was also one of the first people to be killed. There are a number of great martyrs who are attributed to Karbala, even though they were killed prior to the events of Karbala. One of them is Hani ibn Urwa, also buried in Kufa, also one of the ambassadors of Imam al-Hussein. The other is Maytham al-Tammar. Maytham al-Tammar was killed only a couple of weeks before Ashura. This great, loyal companion of Ali ibn Abi Talib, who was crucified to death, and whose tongue was torn out because he wouldn't stop saying, أيها الناس تعالوا لأحدثكم عن فضائل سيدي ومولاي أمير المؤمنين. You're killing me for the crime of speaking of the merits of Ali. Come and take my tongue out if you must. I won't stop saying them. These people were killed prior to Karbala. Otherwise, Maytham would definitely be in Karbala. And one of the people who was killed prior to the events of Ashura was Muslim ibn Aqil. بِأَبِي هُوَ وَأُمِّي. When you go to Kufa, make sure you visit his shrine in Masjid al-Kufa. It even feels lonely, because when you go to Karbala, everybody's there. This is the shrine of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. This is Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. This is Habib. These are the companions, and yet Muslims all alone. Now, the betrayal happens. One moment they're praying behind him. The next moment he looks back and there's not a single soul. He feels so lonely. He walks out of the masjid not knowing where to go. Anybody who saw him from a distance would close the door, ensuring that he doesn't even think about knocking on that door. He walks around for a while until Taw'a sees him. Long story short, the next day, Muslim ibn Aqil hears that there is an entire army approaching the house of Talha, house of Tawah. And so he says, I'm going to go out and fight them. Why? Because I don't want them to come and hurt you. You've been my host. May Allah bless you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for taking a member of the household of purity and infallibility in your protection and giving me refuge. Remember, Kufa was the city of Muslim ibn Aqil. Kufa was where Muslim was raised. Kufa was where Amir al-Mu'mineen was the governor and Khalifa. Kufa was not a place where Muslim should have been a stranger wandering the streets, and yet this is where he is. Muslim ibn Aqil comes out. He fights so valiantly and so courageously that contingent of troops sends a message back to the palace of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. We need enforcements. We need reinforcements and more people to fight along with us. Ubaydullah sends a messenger back saying, what are you doing? He's only one man. So the leader of the army says to Ubaydullah, do you think you have sent me to one of the grocers of Kufa? أظننت أنك بعثتني إلى بقال من بقالي الكوفة. This is Muslim ibn Aqil. This is a man whose uncle is Ali ibn Abi Talib. I need reinforcements. So he sends him more people. Eventually even they can't overcome him. What do? They resort to the oldest trick in the book. They resort to the tradition of Muawiyah. They resort to the tradition of Bani Umayyah. They dig a ditch, a hole. They put something on top. Muslim is trying to fight them. He falls into that ditch. They come and grab him. His bones are shattered. Allahu Akbar. They carry Muslim ibn Aqil back to the tent, back to the palace. When he gets there, he says, could I have a drink of water? He's been fighting all morning. He's thirsty. They bring him a cup full of water. As he brings it closer to his mouth, it is filled with the blood of his mouth. All his teeth are broken. They replace the cup with another one. He tries to drink from it, and it's filled with his blood once again. They bring a third cup, and it's filled with blood. Muslim ibn Aqil realizes that there is a common thread among the companions of Hussein, among those killed in Karbala, that even Muslim is supposed to die whilst thirsty, just like Abu Abdullah al-Hussein died while he was thirsty. He doesn't drink the water. They take him up to the rooftop. He says, give me a moment to offer prayers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, I am not afraid of death. And just so you don't think that I want to stall and I want to delay my death, I will make 2 raka'at. I will pray a prayer, but I will make it quick. Allahu Akbar, what a great man he was. He prayed 2 raka'at, then he stood up and he looked into the direction of Karbala and said, Assalamu alayk ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah al-Husayn. Muslim ibn Aqil then began crying. One of them said to him, Ya Muslim, I didn't take you for a person who would be afraid of death. I didn't think you would be a coward. He said, woe unto you, I am not crying for fear of death. Instead, I am crying for the one who received your letters, your pledges of allegiance, who now has his family and children, and he is heading to Kufa. It's as if by those tears, Muslim is trying to say, Ya Aba Abdullah, do not come to Kufa. The Kufans are bad. They have betrayed me. It's as if Muslim is saying, Ya Aba Abdullah, if you must come, then don't bring Ruqayyah. don't bring sakina. If this is what the Kufans did to me, I can only imagine what they will do to Zainab. I can only imagine what they will do to Rabab. Ya Aba Abdullah, if you must come, then don't bring your 6-month-old infant Abdullah al-Rabi'. رحم الله من نادى وحسينا وغريبا ومظلوما. Two men approach Aba Abdullah al-Hussein as he headed towards Kufa. When the Imam saw them, he said, do you have any news from Kufa? They said, Ya Aba Abdullah, yes, we have news. Should we share them with you in private, or should we tell you right here among your family and companions? Aba Abdullah said, all my companions and my family, they're all just like me. You can tell me in front of them. They said, Ya Aba Abdullah, we were passing through Kufa when suddenly we saw a headless body being dragged on the streets. We couldn't identify him. How do you identify a body? You do it with the head, you do it with the face. We couldn't tell who it was, so we asked the locals, who is this? They said, this is Muslim ibn Aqil. Aywa Ghariba. We said, isn't that the man you were praying behind yesterday? Isn't he the one you gave your pledges to? We saw the body of a Muslim being dragged around. Aba Abdullah, upon hearing this, he said, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Only God knows what happened to the heart of Aba Abdullah when he heard about his cousin's death. Imam Hussein then said, go bring me Hamida, the daughter of Muslim. They went back to the tents, they brought Hamida to him. The Imam held Hamida, he embraced her, then he placed her in his lap and began wiping his blessed hands on her head. Hamida looked up, she said, Ya Am, hal hasala li walidi makruh. Has something happened to my father? Aba Abdullah said, why? She said, because I see you treating me like an orphan. Imam Hussein told her, Bunayya, my sweetheart, I am your father. Hussein is your father now. My daughters are your sisters. We're all your family now. Now I ask, Ya Aba Abdullah, you took the daughter of Muslim in your embrace. You gave her the love and compassion that an orphan needs. But Ya Aba Abdullah, where were you on the 11th day of Muharram when your daughter Sakina approached your body that looked like a hedgehog from all the arrows and spears? Every time she said Abata, they would beat her. Every time this orphan cried, they would hit her. Remember I said that Muslims said Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah from the rooftop, yes? And you also know that it's wajib when you say salam that you say alaykum as-salam in response. Now Muslims said Assalamu alayk to Imam al-Hussein. When did Imam al-Hussein respond to him? When Imam al-Hussein looked to the right and to the left and he found no more companions, فَنَظَرَ يَمِينًا وَشِمَالًا, and saw no one but his companions who had been dead. So that's when he called out to Muslim, Ya Muslim, Mali يناديكم فلا تجيبون. Imam al-Baqir says that when Imam al-Hussein called out the names of his companions, by God their bodies began to shake and shiver, as though they're saying, Ya Abu Abdullah, we wish we could be there to help you. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وليا وحافظا وقائد وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا، كفر عنا سيئاتنا. اللهم ارزقنا في الدنيا زيارة الحسين، وفي الآخرة شفاعة الحسين. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج والعافية والناس. اللهم وارحم موتانا ومن مات على ولاية أمير المؤمنين والعلماء والصالحين والشهداء ومن مات من هذا الجمع. إلى أرواحهم نهدي ثواب سورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.